Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where I've managed to find us almost an encounter here. But look at that relative speed. 5,000 meters per second. That's a lot. That is a whole lot, especially considering we can't aerobrake around Moho. So that is definitely a thing. We've not managed to dial this into an actual encounter yet. There are a few ways that we can work on that. Yeah, a little bit of radial burn here. That gets us pretty close. Okay, it's starting to go back up. That's actually a normal burn. But yeah, let's bring this down about to here. A little bit of radial will probably dial it in more. Okay. So that's 68 kilometers. Or not 68 kilometers. 68... No, that is 68 kilometers. This has to be a Moho encounter, right? How is this not an encounter if the distance is 68 kilometers? I'm very confused by that. This is apparently not an encounter, but distance from target is 68 kilometers. Wait, what? Okay, I'm officially very confused by this. Well, we know that it's going to be a very high relative speed, right? The question is, are we even going to have... Are we going to have a... We're going to have enough to land. I'm pretty sure. Are we going to have enough to take back off, let alone return to Kerbal? That is quite a question. Because this is a lot of relative speed differential here. And without being able to actually see the orbit, it's going to be hard to judge. For sure. I'm a little bit concerned about that, but we do have more DV than what it says on the tin here. But I don't think we're going to have enough DV in our center stage to lift off of Moho with. I didn't check that. But I don't think we'll have enough DV for that. Or rather, not DV, enough thrust to weight for that. We're intended to lift off with these engines. So we're definitely a little behind the curve in terms of our encounter here in DV. But we'll see what it ends up looking like. I'm a little concerned about that, but a distance of 68 kilometers, but we don't yet have an encounter. That feels like a bug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp forward and I'm going to try to do this. Because this definitely should be an encounter. And let's see what happens. So we're going to warp forward and position ourselves about here. Now we're going to warp forward a little further. Yeah, we're out of communication range. We know that. So we're now about 3 minutes away, and we can commence this burn. We're going to want to commence the burn fairly quickly, but we're not actually pointing at the location. We should probably get turning here. We have about 2 minutes, and how quickly are we turning right now? This isn't so bad. We're turning fairly slowly, but not the slowest in the world. Okay, so we're going to continue to head forward here. Wait a second. Is this how you add an orbit to it? No, this is, I think, when the burn finishes. Where you'll be when the burn finishes. Maybe. So I still don't understand how we don't have an encounter at 68 kilometers, but I'm assuming that's a problem with the maneuver, not a problem with our actual orbit. That's what we're proceeding under as an assumption for right now. Now, as far as how much DV we have and whether we have enough to do this, I'm hopeful. But I do have concerns. I definitely have concerns. So I'd like to bring this into a relatively minimal orbit around Moho because, well, we don't actually need to. We just need to be able to see what our orbit will end up being. It would be very convenient if we had an encounter, but I'm pretty sure it's bugged. So there is that. We're about 1 minute and 40 seconds away from this burn now, and we are almost in position for it. So let's bring this on in. A little bit further here, and we'll warp. Actually, I'm just going to manually warp it. We're close enough to the maneuver that this will be absolutely fine. So, we're in position approximately now. Let's bring it up to about 10x speed. That'll be fine. 30 seconds. 20. 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. So we are burning. Excellent. This will be a quite lengthy burn, and we definitely want to time warp through some of this. I'm going up to 100x for right now, and we're going to get through this stage here. Okay, yep, we're approaching partially out of fuel orbital event. That seems relatively fine, but we're still a ways away, actually. In terms of delta V, not that close, but definitely in terms of burn time. This engine is quite slow to burn. So now we're down to 15 DV. That's okay. 12, 10, 9, 8. Yeah, this is a very, very low thrust to weight here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. And off we go. Fantastic. This rest of it should burn a fair amount faster, but this is still about a 5-minute burn. So that is understood. Well, actually, it's closer to a 4-minute burn. But let's just bring this right on down. I'm going to accelerate the speed of this burn a little bit. Cool. So down to about 40 seconds left. I want to go into Moho here because I want to see any time we get an encounter. We can accelerate this speed a little bit more now. 30 seconds left. 20, 10, and 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. We need a little bit more than this. Okay. We've overshot it a little bit. So currently, our distance from target is 14,000 kilometers. So we did overshoot this a little bit. Let's bump over to prograde. And we'll just slowly turn here. And yes, we did burn a fair amount of the fuel here. Although we still have 4,000 DV left. We only burned about 1,000 DV, which is a little bit deceptive on our fuel count. That is because of the differential of thrust to weight, I would assume. So we can dial this distance in a little bit. 14,000 kilometers. I'm wondering what the size of the SOI is of Moho. That'll be interesting to find out for sure. Okay, let's just position this at the prograde marker. We're making our way slowly over there. And we can start to burn a little bit here. Yeah, that's dialing this in. So 10,000 kilometers. 9,000 kilometers. 8,000 kilometers. Why did this just drop down to 711 meters per second? Whoa, hang on. What happened to our engines? How did they burn out? How did we lose these engines? Were they affecting each other with their plumes? Maybe. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off this engine, and I'm going to activate this engine. And we can just flow the... Well, no, this isn't going to work now. Hang on. Is this just not going to work? I did notice things changing over here. I didn't notice any overheat. We didn't test this, but I didn't think that these would be causing each other to overheat with their plumes. That would be very strange to me. I kind of want to revert it back and see what happens. Just make sure that that's actually what's happening there. So we would load that back where we just were. And the question is, when was the most recent autosave? I guess we'll find out. I want to know if that's actually overheating. Like, is that a... Okay, we're here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to ditch this. And we're going to make our way out of here. There we go. Okay. I don't care about the burn directionality here. I'm wondering if this was a bug that these engines burned off. Their plumes don't look like they interact with each other in any meaningful way. But there's an overheat. Interesting. And they still burned off after I shut down the engines there. That's very interesting. Okay, so we have to abort this flight, and we have to return this back to Kerbin at this point. So the question is, if we set Kerbin as our target, and we look to... Actually, I want to set Kerbin as our target, please. Right down in here. Kerbin, please. Okay, so Kerbin is now set as our target. So if we were to do a burn somewhere around here, we need to abort this flight. We've clearly got significant issues with it. Okay, that is not very helpful at all. Okay. Let's see what we can do somewhere around here with a retrograde burn. So this would be about here. And then a bit of a radial burn. So this is kind of a radial retrograde combination burn. But I think that's moving us further apart. So I think we need to be going kind of this way. That gave us an encounter. Hang on, where was that? Up over here. Okay, so that's 977 meters per second. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off these engines. And I'm going to activate this engine. We're going to utilize the fuel here. That's fine. And I want to align to the target. We clearly have fundamental flaws with this design that I definitely did not expect. But what is this periapsis looking like right now? Okay, this could definitely be dialed in, and we are going to do that. So I want to get some retrograde in here. That is about... Can we focus on Kerbin, please? Thank you. That is about 4,500 kilometers. So we need to bring this back in this direction. Okay, we're starting to pass over it here, which of course indicates, if we can see here, that we need to go this way. Beautiful. So we want to bring this down to somewhere around 40 kilometers. We're just aborting this flight at this point. We need to take this back to the drawing board. We can't revert it at this point, and we're not going to. We're just going to bring it down something like this, and then we'll do a re-entry burn. We're going to probably end up ditching a fair amount of this fuel on the way in. In fact, do we want to just ditch this and fly back on the fuel that we've got here? This is 975 meters per second. That should be a doable thing. Yeah, let's ditch all of this here. I'm going to retract our solar panels first, because I have a feeling that we're going to lose these internal solar panels with the tumble that we've got going on right now. And let's ditch this outer ring. Okay. I'm just going to give us a little bit of speed so that we can hopefully clear them. And we've got plenty of Delta V to make this happen. Okay, so this is going to be fine. We're going to return this back to Kerbin. And Jeb and Berger have been in the dark this whole time, but that's fine. So we've definitely made some... We've definitely learned some things here about this design. No doubt about that. One is that overheating issue is a major one. Two is that our interplanetary transfer stage, and by extension, our first stage, just aren't strong enough. I think we need to revert back a little bit, and we should extend our solar panels again. I think we need to revert back a little bit on our lander design and make that significantly lighter. The question is, if we did that, would we be able to lift off of Moho? Well, that's something we can figure out in the VAB. So let's bring this back for now. We're going to warp forward here, and we're just bringing this back to Kerbin. We are aborting this flight. Cool. So we're going to start this burn shortly, here in about 3 minutes. Let's warp forward a little bit further. Okay. here in about 15 seconds. Sounds good. So this is 975 meters per second, and we've got lots of delta V left in this. We want to make sure we burn out the top fuel first here. That's for sure. So 6, we're going to have to make some adjustments to this probably, but 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, let's bring this guy right on home. I definitely would not have expected those engines to overheat and burn each other out. I'm wondering if they just naturally overheat themselves. And you need to have some sort of external cooling on them. That is a theoretical possibility, I suppose. We can test that. It might have to do with the fact that there were 4 of them in quote-unquote too close of proximity. I'm not sure. For now, of course, we want to focus our camera over on Kerbin. So let's head on in over here, and with our camera focused here, we want to be hitting... We don't care about the actual orbit. The only thing we care about is our apoapsis being within the atmosphere. That's the only thing that we care about here. So we're burning for this intercept that is definitely inefficient, but at this point we have no real choice. We need to bring this home. So, a couple of things that we want to solve. I'd like to lower the mass on our lander. That will make it so that that first stage and that interplanetary transfer stage go a lot further on their own. So, the question is, if we were to do that, would we be able to lift off of Moho with 5 engines? That is, specifically 5 poodles. That's an interesting question for sure. We've got about 40 seconds of burn left here, and let's just hop on back over to Kerbin. And let's warp forward the last little bit of this burn. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10. Okay, so we can see our orbital line coming in over here. The only thing we care about is this periapsis number. Okay, I'm going to turn down our throttle a little bit. I don't really want to overshoot. 800 kilometers. We need that to, of course, come down quite a lot lower. We are losing efficiency here. Okay, so at this point, let's hop over to anti-normal. This is because we are on a different trajectory than we expected. That's fine. We just want to bring this in from anti-normal. That's 77 kilometers. We can radial retrograde from there, but I'm going to drop it a little further. 40 kilometers. That looks good. Okay, now I want to go into our fuel. So we're going to go into our resource manager, Methalox. We've got these 2 tanks. I want to do in here, and we'll just move that fuel down. Fantastic. So we've now burned all of the fuel out of this tank, and all of our remaining fuel is here. We've got about 3,000 meters per second. That sounds great. So at this point, we want to warp forward to our encounter, which is going to be up here, 103 days. That seems correct. Okay, so inward we go. I want to warp just beyond it. Cool. Now what I want to do is I want to get us a radial retrograde burn, which is kind of going to be a re-entry burn, but kind of not. So I just want to burn it sometime around... We're coming in on this top side, right? Yes, we're coming in on the top side. So sometime around here or so, I want to do a retrograde burn, but I want to keep our periapsis reasonably high here. So I want to pin open this periapsis, 37 kilometers. Okay. We're just going to do a burn kind of like this. We can continue to yoink out of our apoapsis there. And bring that into around 30 kilometers, and that's a pretty safe re-entry trajectory there. Yeah, this is very safe. Okay, that looks good. This is only 1093 meters per second, so that's okay. This is all of the fuel we have remaining, of course, at this point. Unfortunately, this mission is a failure. But I think there are multiple reasons for that. But I really wasn't expecting that engine burn-off issue. Those plumes don't appear to interact with each other in any meaningful way, so I'm wondering if those engines require active cooling. That is a possibility, but I want to try downsizing the lander size anyway. That will significantly boost our first and second stages. So that sounds good. Let's warp forward about 4 days. We're falling towards Kerbin here. And we're going to be accelerating quite significantly. We're about 1 day away. And now we're about 3 minutes away. Cool. So we're currently moving at about 3 kilometers per second. We're going to drop that down pretty substantially, of course. Let's warp forward a little bit further. Okay. Continuing to warp ever so slightly here, but we're about 8 seconds away from the burn. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... mark. Now we are just above the ground, or rather above the atmosphere here. We should retract our solar panels now. They're going to go away before we come back out of the atmosphere anyway. We're not going to come back out of the atmosphere. This is just going to be a fairly dark landing. We didn't really have to have it be dark, I suppose. We had enough Delta V, but let's just slow this on down. We are now officially in atmosphere. And we're going down pretty quickly here. No doubt about that. I'm keeping an eye out for heat gauges, and let's put this in surface mode. I'm going to take this over to surface retrograde the moment we see any heat. But we're continuing to slow down as much as we can. Cool. See how the periapsis is going up here? That's actually what I want at this moment. So that looks good. We are hitting a periapsis of about 50 kilometers fairly soon. We see our time to periapsis is going down. That is excellent. That is very, very good for right now. So we're just going to continue to burn in this attitude for the moment. We're not seeing any temperature gauges, which does surprise me a fair amount here. We're still moving pretty quickly at this point. Time to periapsis is still decreasing. So we're technically not in capture yet. We see a heat gauge, changing our attitude. Getting rid of this maneuver node. Cool. So we're basically at the periapsis right now and just continuing to burn. The question is, are we actually going to get captured here? I think we are. Right now, if we go into sea level altitude, you can see we're going up. So that is a thing, for sure. We might take a second aerobrake pass, but we've managed to get rid of the vast majority of our excess speed. So that looks good. Even if we have to take a second pass, that's not the end of the world, but no, we're not coming back out. At this point, we are good. So I'm going to ditch... Well, actually, I'm going to keep burning for a moment. I want this periapsis to come down to somewhere around 10 kilometers. Yeah, like that. Now I'm going to ditch this engine. And we're just going to let our heat shield do its thing. Beautiful. You can see we're still going up here. That's going to change. Okay, let's take this up to 4x. We should be pretty safe from here. Beautiful. So that was definitely a failure. No doubt about it. That's very interesting. No doubt that was unexpected. I thought that we'd be able to get there for sure and get the landing done, but with losing those engines due to overheat, shocking. Absolutely shocking. I mean, we're going to Moho. It's expected to be hot, right? No doubt about that. Maybe we should have active cooling anyway. But yeah, we could definitely do it that way. I would still like to increase the power level of that first couple of stages, though. So I think we need to revisit the design on our lander. I think that's what this comes down to. Well, for now, We are going back down, and we are losing a fair amount of speed. Our altitude is not particularly high at this moment, so it's going to be kind of slow to come down, but it looks like... Is that coming up on some water up there? It's hard to tell. It's very, very dark. No doubt about that. I wouldn't mind a water landing, but it doesn't matter either way. Unfortunately for Jeb and Burger, they didn't make it to Moho, but that was definitely through unforeseen circumstances. The lucky thing is it happened early enough that we were able to correct it. Now, we did go back to a save there just to make sure. We still would have been able to correct it from that previous save. We had over a kilometer per second, and most of that burn that we did was in the correct direction anyway. So we would have been able to, even without going back to that save, still bring them back here. I just wanted to make absolutely certain that what I thought happened actually happened, and it did. I'm very glad we did that. Either way. We are drifting off of the retrograde node here and tumbling a little bit. Okay. I'm watching this heat gauge, but we are definitely slowing down considerably. Heat gauge is going down. Okay, we're good. I was a little concerned about tumbling off there, but it seems fine. So we're slowing down considerably, and let's get our chutes out about... I'm going to wait until like 300 meters per second. Yeah, this should be very safe. Did the chutes go out? I don't think so. I think we're up too high. Okay. What's going on with the chutes right now? Deploy chutes. We're out of electric charge. I don't know why the chutes are refusing to deploy through the deploy system, but that's exciting. Deploy. Okay. We've got our normal chutes out. That's very strange that they're refusing to deploy, but whatever. I'm not sure exactly why that happened. Here's a couple more drogue chutes. We have our 2 drogue chutes out and our 4 mains. Okay, so chutes are out. They refused to deploy through the deploy system. That's exciting. But we managed to get them deployed regardless, and this will be a safe touchdown. So, definitely found some problems in this. We'll call this our shakedown cruise, and we found some things to shake out. No doubt about it. We're going to have to go back a bit to the drawing board on this one in the next episode. But for now, let's just bring poor Jebediah and Burger back. They are completely safe, and they are back on Kerbin, despite the failure of their craft. Excellent. Cool. And let's recover this. There we go, and head back to the KSC. So yeah, this exploded due to overheating. So we could definitely think about doing active cooling on it, but I think our bigger problem is just our lander is too heavy. I think that's the biggest issue right now. So for now, that's what we're going to address, but that is a next episode sort of thing. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.